Hello, everyone. Good morning. Namaste. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers of this conference, Government First Grade College, Siddhartha Nagar, Mysore, and the authorities, especially the convener of the conference, Dr. Siddharamu, for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts and views on this very emerging and important topic of AI, artificial intelligence, and its impact on higher education. As all of you know, these days, everywhere you hear the word artificial intelligence. Everyone is talking about artificial intelligence. So it's naturally important for all of us, all the stakeholders in higher education, to consider artificial intelligence and its impact on higher education. What I am going to do in this talk is to talk about AI and higher education and how we can balance the threats and opportunities offered by AI. This is my agenda. So, first, I'm going to be setting the context. I'm going to be talking about the AI buzz, the power and pitfalls of AI. What is AI? Why the hype and the hoopla? And as an example of AI, I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on ChatGPT, how ChatGPT has transformed the world and higher education in particular. And today, the focus is also on how do we leverage the power of AI in the realm of higher education? How do we avoid the pitfalls of AI and balance the threats and opportunities? That is what I'm going to be covering in this talk. AI, as I mentioned before, is the talk of the town since the last 2-3 years. Even though the work on AI, then known as thinking machines, has been going on since the 1950s. But today it has garnered the attention of everyone. And the tipping point for all this AI talk and buzz has been the release of ChatGPT in November 2022. The launch of ChatGPT by OpenAI and its open availability, particularly, has taken the world by storm. And then some people have said AI is coming at humanity fast and furious. Now, let us first try to understand what is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is the simulation of human intelligence and its processes by machines, especially computer systems. AI is essentially the machine's ability to perform the cognitive functions that we normally associate with human beings. And AI as a field is a wide ranging branch of computer science concerned with building smart machines capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence. That's the simplest definition of what is AI. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it has become the talk of the town. I'm just sharing here with you two quotes by two eminent people, one, an eminent scientist, and another, an eminent historian. Stephen Hawking, I'm sure all of you have heard of this great physicist, Stephen Hawking. He said in 2017, before his death, success in creating effective AI could be the biggest event in the history of our civilization, or it could be the worst. We just do not know. So we cannot know if we will be infinitely helped by AI or ignored by it and sidelined or conceivably destroyed by it. That's what Stephen Hawking warned us some 5 years back. More recently, author and cultural historian Yuval Noah Harari said AI has hacked the operating system of human civilization. Noah Harari, he has written a couple of books. One of the famous ones is titled Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. In this book, he traces the what he calls as the heralding of the cognitive revolution, and he traces it back to 70,000 BCE. And according to him, human civilization from Stone Age to 21st century has gone through four major steps or milestones. The first one was the beginning, when the Homo sapiens, that is from Homo erectus, we became Homo sapiens, which means that we actually developed our thinking ability, or what he calls as the cognitive revolution. That happened about 70,000 years back. The next was in the year somewhere around 10,000 BCE, which he terms it as the agricultural revolution. The third one is what he calls as the unification of human mind, which happened around 34 CE. A gradual consolidation of human political organizations toward one global empire. Then came somewhere around the 16th century what is known as the scientific revolution, the emergence of what we normally call as the objective science. So the question before us is, having seen these four stages of cognitive revolution, is AI heralding the next cognitive revolution? Some believe yes, that is what is happening. Because today, AI is able to do what the human beings could do, particularly the abstraction ability of human beings. That is abstract thinking, the ability to think about objects, principles, and ideas that are not directly tied to concrete physical objects and experiences, which usually is the limitation of animals. They can only relate to what is happening to a concrete physical object. That means they lack the cognitive ability for abstraction and imagination. And AI today uses computing power to achieve these capabilities. However, they are not modeled on human brain in one sense. Because human brain is a very different engine. It's an analog engine, very complex, and it can modify itself continuously. And this capability, as of now, is still not with the artificial intelligence. It's basically human brain is slow, whereas computers or technologies are fast. But then human brain can modify itself continuously, whereas machines take a different approach to change or modify themselves. Harari actually predicts what is going to happen in the future or to the future of humanities in a book that he wrote a couple of years back called Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow. That is, what he says is, due to all this technological development, human beings are going to lose control and algorithms are going to take over. That is the threat of AI. In fact, in another book, which I'm going to cite here and quote, The Age of AI and Our Human Future by Henry Kissinger, Smith, and Huttenlocher, they say that AI is heralding a new epoch that is displacing God. Machines are going to take over. So, based on some of these books and talks, and people are actually not just the technologists, but as I said earlier, cultural historians, technologists, and everyone, governments, etc., are concerned about the risks and the dangers of AI. What are the risks and dangers of AI? Many. I've just outlined here three, or rather five primary risks. The first risk that everybody is worried about, and even Harari and many others have talked about, is loss of human control. As of now, technology has been under the control of human beings. It's our wish to do something, we use technology to do it. But in the future, we may lose control of that. There are many examples already available of it. For example, autonomous vehicles. Today already there are autonomous cars, vehicles, which driverless cars, etc. That technology is already available. And the threat is also actually about autonomous warfare machines, autonomous weapons. That's where the threat is, or the risk is. Then the third most critical danger or risk of AI is misinformation and disinformation. Already we are seeing the effects of misinformation and disinformation. I mean, the world over, people are concerned about how AI can be used to create and create actually not real information or reality, information about reality, but misinformation and disinformation. And especially the year 2024, the world over, various institutions, policy institutions, artificial intelligence institutions, etc., are talking about 2024 primarily because that this is the election year for two of the important countries or democracies. One, the largest democracy, that is India, wherein the ongoing elections are happening. And later in November, in the US, there is the presidential election happening. And we have seen already in the last couple of years how misinformation and disinformation has been used and has been actually used by not only people of the country, people of concerned parties, but even external parties to hack an election. So that's one of the major concerns. Then the fourth one is the security risks, because everybody is worried about how computer systems can be hacked, and then we are at great security risk. Then, of course, the most other important danger that most people, particularly youngsters, are worried about is the loss of jobs. Having outlined very briefly the risks and dangers of AI, let me now talk about how we have got here where we are now. As I said earlier, AI, as we understand today, had its birth in the 1950s. So the journey of AI started in the 1950s with the pioneering work of, you might have heard, some of you at least might have heard of the name Alan Turing, who proposed what he called as the Turing test to determine if a machine could mimic human intelligence. So that's where it began. So there are other things that I have highlighted in my slide. I think I'm not going to go through them for paucity of time. So let me just say that we have come a long way in this AI evolution. And today we are talking about an age where most likely many of the AI systems could actually surpass the Turing test. Somewhere it began in the 1960s with AI research actually trying to develop, for example, chess. Chess is one game where they try to, as you know, chess is a very mind game, right? Which involves thinking, which involves planning, which involves great strategy, etc. So that's why first of the applications of AI or computers in general has been the game of chess. So the one difference is in the early period, AI or early AI systems focused on symbolic reasoning and rule-based systems. And that is what led to the expert systems in the 1970s and 80s. So from that expert systems, today there has been a major shift in the approach of AI. It started somewhere in the 1990s. It started with actually what is known as the technology of machine learning. The machine learning technology could be developed and deployed primarily because of the increased availability of digital data and, of course, also the power of computing. That shift, that is, you could easily analyze large sets of data, look at patterns, and then actually decipher the what they call as the insight or the intelligence behind that data. And that's how you might have heard of this, big data. Everybody, 10, 15 years back, everybody was talking about big data, big data. That is, there was humongous data that was available in all areas, whether it is in the area of health, whether it's in the area of markets, etc., you would find humongous amounts of data. And using the data, they developed models known as neural networks, a new technology, neural networks that could be developed, and then that allowed AI systems to learn from this data, leading to better performance and adaptability. That is what is known as the major shift or the big data phase. And today, AI technology essentially is based on machine learning technology and other related technologies, which I'm going to be mentioning briefly shortly. When it comes to AI, generally it is categorized into three types or three categories of AI: weak, strong, and super intelligent. Weak AI is basically artificial intelligence or artificial narrow intelligence, ANI, are sometimes referred to as weak AI, ANI, or artificial narrow intelligence. It's basically a area where a artificial intelligence machine is designed to perform a single task, maybe like say a chess or something like that, any other thing. One small narrow task, they would have developed the systems for that. And that is what is known as weak or the artificial narrow intelligence. The second one is the strong, or what is also known as the artificial general intelligence. That is when machines can mimic human intelligence and human behavior, and they have the ability to learn and apply its intelligence to solve any problem. That means in the weak one or the narrow one, they can only solve that particular problem. They are not able to generalize further like human beings. Okay. And that stage is what is known as the artificial general intelligence. The third one, that is artificial general intelligence, where it can understand and act in ways that human beings can do and sometimes indistinguishable. Then next comes the super intelligence. I'll give you some examples of artificial general intelligence systems. They can, for example, reason, solve problems, make judgments, under certainty, plan, learn, integrate prior knowledge in decision making. They can be like human beings, innovative, imaginative, and creative. And generally, the general consensus is that we are currently still in the artificial narrow intelligence phase, that is ANI phase or weak stage, and we are probably now at the cusp of moving towards what is known as the general intelligence, that is artificial general intelligence. See, for example, as I already mentioned, self-driving cars or autonomous cars. So this technology, in a way, is also still a narrow AI because it is involves the coordination of several narrow AIs, and then you are able to get a self-driving car, that is driverless cars. Then similarly, the ChatGPT that took the world by storm some 2 years back, that is also considered as an artificial narrow intelligence, even though it is quite powerful and fanciful. Then artificial super intelligence, that is ASI, that is considered as the future of AI. That is artificial super intelligence, which is expected to perform extraordinarily and surpass humans at everything, whether it is art, decision making, emotional relationships, etc. So that is the stage which everybody is worried about, concerned about. When we reach that ASI or artificial super intelligence, when machines can actually perform much better and surpass human beings, us, in various ways. I am just quoting here another author and another book, that is philosopher Nick Bostrom at the University of Oxford. He was the one who defined this term super intelligence and sort of explained what, according to him, is super intelligence. That is where the machine intelligence or intellect would be smarter than the best of the human brains. Like, say, for example, a machine can be better than, say, Einstein and things like that. Okay, that is when, or even social skills, that it can let us say art, it can dance better, it can sing better. These are the examples, future scenarios where we would probably reaching with the artificial super intelligence. That's what Nick Bostrom said, and he wrote a book called Super Intelligence. Okay, paths, dangers, and strategies. How do we get there? Okay. Now, there is another book which was published this year. He calls it as Deep Utopia. In this book, Nick Bostrom not only raises concerns as he did in the previous book, that is the artificial superintelligence, the dangers of AI, what could happen if things go wrong. That was the focus of his previous book, that is artificial superintelligence book. But in the new book, what Nick Bostrom, the philosopher Nick Bostrom, talks about is actually mulls over what if things could go right. He imagines the positive side of the reaching ASI, artificial superintelligence. That is, imagine a world where we have superintelligence, which is safe, which we can govern better. That's impossible. What is sometimes referred to as the responsible AI. And we can make good use of all of this, wealth, and we can have all the magical powers, technological powers that this technology can actually unlock. So if this happens, that is, if the artificial superintelligence or machine intelligence goes very well, then human labor becomes obsolete. That means no one need to work. You don't need to call me to give a talk. A robot can come and give a talk and look like ShaliniUrs. So he calls this space, what he calls it as post-instrumentality. That is, he's looking at the brighter side of reaching that stage, not the dangerous side, but the brighter side, where he says no one need to work, everyone can enjoy, everyone is, suitably, because we don't have to worry about, let us imagine everybody is rich, everybody has free time. I mean, of course, it is utopia. That's why he calls it as deep utopia, right? An utopian world is where sarve jano sukhino bhavantu. Everyone is happy. Everyone has everything that they need. Everybody is healthy. Everybody has money. Nobody need to work. Nobody need to worry about food, where the next meal is going to come. That is the focus of this book, Deep Utopia, by this. Okay. Now, for a minute, imagine how it would be if we think about the utopian world of artificial intelligence. That is, we are going to see a phase where none of us need to work, none of us need to worry about where our next meal is going to come. None of us need to worry about any work at all, right? So that's the utopian world that Nick Bostrom is talking about. Now, before I go on to the next topic meaning, as I said earlier, I'm going to be talking about the one example of AI, that is ChatGPT, in a little more detail, and then try to understand how it can impact higher education. That's my agenda. Okay. So that's why I'm saying, let us for a minute think about a utopian world and imagine that all of us have enough money. We don't have to work anymore, but we have food, shelter, everything. So how are we, I mean, what Nick Bostrom is thinking about is how we are going to use our capabilities of thinking, imagination, etc., to be doing something more useful, more powerful, etc. Not just whiling away our time. That's for a minute, pause for a minute, don't worry about unemployment. Imagine a scenario where none of us need to work, right? So maybe that's for good. I don't know. I personally do not know, because I still feel, I'm retired now, but I still feel like, doing something just as I'm doing. So I should be, engaged, not necessarily, of course, I don't have to worry about the next meal, where the next meal is going to come from. So basically what I'm trying to let you know is, for a minute, pause and then think about how we can actually have a utopian future with the artificial intelligence, and not the harmful one, but the good one. That is what he calls as the utopian artificial intelligence, right? So that's what I want you to think about. Now, let me go to the next topic, that is about ChatGPT. ChatGPT is what is known as the generative AI, generative artificial intelligence. It's a vital tool that professionals in all fields should learn to use. So I would urge the faculty and students here to make good use of the ChatGPT as a tool. I'm using the word good use. I'll come back to that because there are the question of ethics, etc. I use ChatGPT too. So ChatGPT has emerged as a vital tool, as I said before, with the potential to significantly impact the landscape of research and scholarship in higher education. It offers us a wide variety of applications, ranging from, all of us, if you have to give a talk, if you have to write an assignment, do or start a course or a lecture, teach a particular program, we do literature search, right? We do what are the good books on this topic, what are the good articles available on this, and then go through them and prepare a, particularly in research. If you are doing research, we are going to be doing this literature review. Now, ChatGPT can help you in literature reviews. It can also generate content, textual content. It can also help you in data analysis, translation, summarization, etc. Supposing you give, 5 pages and then say, give it to ChatGPT and say, can you summarize it in 5 sentences? So it can do that. That's the potential or the ability that ChatGPT has. So you can imagine how it can actually transform our world. So it can do all of this, as I mentioned before. It can assist in several aspects of academic work. It can process and analyze large amounts of data. When you are doing research, we need this. We need to analyze large amounts of data. It can perform, as I mentioned earlier, comprehensive literature review. It can help us design experiments. It can also help us in assisting writing reports. It can also help generate ideas. I have some idea, but I don't have complete idea about a particular area of work, right? So I can take the help of ChatGPT for generating more ideas or new ideas and also hypotheses. It can also help in citation management. It can help us in writing essays. And it can also not only just write an essay, you can get ChatGPT to write an essay in your writing style. Okay, if you actually, I would say, if you become familiar with it and then you become an expert in using ChatGPT, you can actually get ChatGPT to write an essay the way you would have written it. Here, I'm giving you one example of how ChatGPT can help you. For example, many times now to start any talk or anything, first we think about what is the right title. Okay. So, for example, for this talk, I had already given the title to convener, Dr. Siddharamu, for this talk. Then I said, let me ask ChatGPT. Well, it gives me some other idea. So as you can see here, this is the screenshot of ChatGPT. I have asked, I'm giving a talk on AI and higher education, balancing threats and opportunities. Can you suggest a good title? So it has given me some options. For example, it says, striking the balance, leveraging AI in higher education for progress and preparedness. And it has given me some more titles, navigating the AI horizon, maximizing opportunities and minimizing threats in higher education. So you can see this is just one example for you to, if you have not yet used ChatGPT, if you have used it, I am sure you know better than this, that it can actually help us decide on a better title. What it means, two things. You have to have some idea first. You have to give them, that's called prompt engineering. You have, the answers that you get depends on the questions that you ask, okay? So that's why you can use it to help you arrive at a better title by giving you different options. Again, as I said, the control is still with us, human being. I can choose to use the title given by ChatGPT or stick to my own title. So remember, you cannot go blank and then ask ChatGPT, give me some ideas on this stuff. It will give, not that it won't give, but it won't be aligned to your ideas, right? So here I have given you another example. I am just, this is my area of work, decoding disinformation. So I just, what I wanted to talk, in this book, I have given decoding disinformation, psychology, economics, and technology. Can you give me a chapter outline for the book? So ChatGPT has given me a chapter outline. Okay, you can see this in this example, right? What are the various chapters that I need to be doing? Now, as you can see here, well, it has given me so many ideas. Okay. I have also asked another question. Can you give me some real world examples of successful deployment of ChatGPT in academic writing? So it says it can help in idea generation and brainstorming. That's what it did, right? It gave me some other ideas. Then I could brainstorm and say, okay, I think this is better. Or I could combine one title with the other and then say this is better, etc. It will help us in language enhancement and proofreading. Many times I use that, when I'm messaging something important in a WhatsApp. If I don't have time, I'll just say, refine this particular phrase. So I don't have to worry about the grammar part of it too much. Okay. And then summarize, as I already mentioned, summarizing and condensing research, generating introductory and concluding sections, etc. So all of this, it has given me some ideas. So for a minute, you understand how ChatGPT is now transforming higher education, both for the teachers, lecturers, for professors, as well as the students. Okay. So idea generation stage, it can help us. See, I've given you one more example. So like this, I can give on giving you different examples about how ChatGPT can help us improve our productivity and also do good better. I call it as doing good better. The reason is, well, we have to be thinking of, as I said earlier, we have to have ideas, but if we can use like any other assistance of technology, right, to use this technology to help us do things better. That's what I'm talking about. Now, let us pause for a minute and then think about what are the different ways that you can actually use ChatGPT in your work. See, students, for example, can write their assignments using the help of ChatGPT. Remember, I'm using the word help. The reason is you need to have ideas, as I said before. You need to come up with a little more, say, I want to do this, etc. And it can help you refine it. Okay. You can also ask it to write a note on this. Okay. It will do that. But remember, I said responsible AI or responsible ChatGPT. So that is why the concerns about the ethics of it, the morality of it, doing things, the morality comes into play when we are talking about autonomous warfare. Okay, how can we use artificial intelligence to, like weapons to go and kill anybody and everybody on the street? And that is a morality issue. Then ethical issue is how much the teachers can depend on ChatGPT to improve the learning scenario rather than substitute. If you start substituting, then we will become redundant, right? It's about improving. My own personal take on this is just like we have been using other technologies. See, for example, today we create all these PowerPoint presentations. When I started my career, some 45 years back, I started first and foremost having this chits of paper before me and then having some points there and then giving lectures. Then came the era of the transparencies. You would draw pictures, etc., or even take a printout on this overhead projector transparencies and using them as a aid, as a help, so that I don't have to memorize or I don't have to hold my slips in my hand, but I can actually make a projection and then say, this is how it is, right? So it made my work easier, not only easier for the teacher, but more effective. That is, students could see on the screen or the overhead projector what the teacher is talking about or what the speaker is talking about. Same way, from overhead projector and transparencies, we move to PowerPoint presentations. So PowerPoint presentations enabled us to actually be more creative. I would also say my personal experience is that we would also be working more. In fact, I used to say earlier, we just had to prepare and then go and give a talk. Now we not only have to prepare what we are going to talk, but we are going to actually again work more towards creating nice PPTs. Because nice PPTs also means you think of some images, some words, some things, etc., in order to make it a better PPT. So the point here is about today we are using AI or ChatGPT, for example, to help us do things better, help us do our work, or rather, I would say, if we are teaching or researching, better than just minimizing our work. I would use the word working better rather than our doing better than minimizing our work. Now let us go. This is as I said earlier, I am going to focus on a little bit more on the what is the technology of artificial intelligence. I already mentioned the overarching field is artificial intelligence, and then this is powered by machine learning, which in that is machine learning is powered by a technology called deep learning. So this is the scenario of artificial intelligence. And when it comes to ChatGPT, ChatGPT is essentially a chatbot developed by a company called OpenAI, and it was launched in November 30th, 2022. What is ChatGPT? It is defined as a large language model based chatbot, which enables the users to refine and steer a conversation towards a desired length, format, style, level of detail, and language use. Remember, that's why insist on the word refine. It can only help you to refine and then take it in a particular way. Use it in the style, tonality that you want. So basically, that is what ChatGPT is. And the technology behind that is what is known as the large language models. Okay. This is the technology that has enabled ChatGPT. So, in order to understand ChatGPT, we need to understand both large language models as well as the deep learning technology that is behind the generative AI. So, generative AI refers to the category of AI algorithms that generate new outputs based on data they have been trained. So, remember, all that you get from ChatGPT or any of these generative AIs, it's all based on humongous amount of text that is already stored there based on millions of books, articles, web, whatever that is there in the web, and wherever it is. And that using that, they have developed what is known as deep learning models. These deep learning models have enabled to produce new text or new content. Okay, that new content is what you get as the output. So when you ask a question to ChatGPT, it generates. For example, if you ask, what is your view of general elections in India? It will automatically start saying that, I'm just a language model, I'm not giving you predictions, etc. It will give you some general text, I would say, some general gyan on general elections in India. It will also say throw names like Narendra Modi, Rahul Gandhi, Congress Party, BJP, and all of that it will stop. It won't give you any insight because there are already, information that is available, maybe in books, maybe, in various, as I said, web, etc., takes that and then creates new content. That's one thing that you need to understand. That is, basically, it is using the text or the what is known as the content that is available to generate new content. And this is based on a technology called GAN, that is generative adversarial networks, to create new content. So it creates new content based on old content. Okay? So this GAN, or the generative adversarial network, is actually, it consists of two neural networks: a generator that creates new data and a discriminator that evaluates data. So thereby, it's generative, mainly because not just using the old data, but using that, it creates new data. And then there is another part of this technology called the discriminator that evaluates this data. So there is something new, that's why it's called generative. It's not like, oh, take this, you got to sort of, combine that and throw a new one. It is throwing new one using that's why adversarial, it combines the data and then throws a new one. And then in addition to throwing a new one, it is also trying to evaluate. Well, how good it is at evaluation is still a large question that needs to be answered. It is getting better every day. So that's why I said there are two neural networks: a generator that creates new data and a discriminator that evaluates this data. So the generator improves its output based on the feedback that it gets from the discriminator. So it's a continuous improvement loop. Okay, continuously it is improving its performance or its output. So that's important. That is, it keeps learning. And the technology, as I mentioned about the technology of deep learning, there is deep learning and there is machine learning. People always get a little confused about what is deep and what is machine learning. Basically, deep learning, as I showed in the previous slide, the figure, deep learning is a subset of machine learning, and it distinguishes itself from classical machine learning by the type of data that it works with and the method that is used to learn from. That's the key here. The deep learning, the difference between the traditional machine learning and the current day deep learning is it uses the data and then the methods that it uses to learn this data. They are more sophisticated and mathematically complex because it's, as I said earlier, everything is actually changing, learning, and improving upon. Machines are also improving upon. So they are machine learning algorithm leverage structured label data to make predictions. That is the old model. Basically, like databases. Structured means, some of you must be knowing what are databases, right? Databases are structured data because there is a label, there is, it's easy to retrieve information from databases, okay? Because you don't have to say, for example, let us say student data. Okay, you have name. So under that, database is like a table, okay? You have the name label, then you have the name, let us say, for example, age, you have the label, for example, say college, then you have the label, for example, say subject or course that they are doing. So you have this name XYZ, Siddharamu, and then let us say Basavaraju. These are the names, and then these are the colleges that they are studying, etc. That is database. That is structured data. That means the machine doesn't have to worry about whether Siddharamu is a name or not, because there is a label to it. So that is what is known as structured data. And machine learning is particularly the earlier version of machine learning was using this kind of structured data. But as you know, with the internet, with the availability of web and all of this, we moved away from structured data to unstructured data. There is humongous amount of unstructured data that is available in the world today. And that humongous data is used and models are developed, and then deep learning algorithms can ingest this unstructured data, process this unstructured data, for example, text or images, etc., and then automatically they extract the future. What do you mean by automatically extract the future? Meaning, for example, let us say there is a sentence. Sentence is Government First Grade College, Siddhartha Nagar, Mysore, is conducting this conference on, etc. So here, you don't have to give, like in a structured database, you don't give college name is this, city name is this, right? It is unstructured data. It is only saying Government First Grade College in Siddhartha Nagar, in Mysore. Okay, so that is sentences. From that, it has to extract the feature that Siddhartha Nagar is actually an area within the city of Mysore. We are not saying the city of Mysore, Siddhartha Nagar extension, etc. in that center. So that feature extraction is done by the algorithms. I mean, I'm just giving a very simplistic example, but that's how it works. Okay, it extracts the features. So that is what the algorithms do in order to extract the features and then ingest this data and then learn from it. Okay, so deep learning algorithms analyze data with logical structures like how a human would draw conclusions. That is why we are saying these days we are moving more and more towards, I mean, algorithms or deep learning systems are moving more and more towards how the human beings would do. So this is an image to give you an idea of how machine learning and deep learning are different. So in machine learning, the feature extraction is done by human beings, then classification is done, and then the output is there. Whereas in deep learning, the feature extraction is also automatic. That's the difference, okay? And thereby, sometimes it gets wrong. Usually, the reasons why things go wrong in AI is because it is automatically classified, automatically feature extraction happens. Okay, so I will not go deeper into the technology part of it for the paucity of time. So let me quickly run through. Anyway, these slides I'm sure will be made available to those people who are interested in knowing more about it. So these deep learning technologies are today used in various ways. There is behind that there is artificial neural network, and all of these technologies are used to get to a stage of mimicking human intelligence. Okay. I mentioned earlier it does not work. See, remember, we are trying to mimic the human being, but artificial intelligence doesn't work the way human brain works. It is trying to only mimic through automatic feature, through self-learning capabilities. It is trying to get there, but probably it will get there. So the errors will, I mean, today there are lots of errors still there, but then, we'll probably reach a stage where this would be minimized, at least, if not completely erased, okay, or completely diminished. So in the artificial neural network technology, there are two types of technologies, or two CNNs, that is convolutional neural network and recurrent neural networks, okay. So primarily the CNNs are used in image analysis, whereas RNN is used in sequential data such as time series, natural language, etc. That is text data. Okay. So, I mean, like artificial intelligence today, like ChatGPT, etc., are used to generate text as well as generate images. Remember that. So there are now available software for generating images. So you can generate images too. I think I have some examples in my slides. Okay. So the idea here is there are two types. One is the convolutional neural network, CNN, the other one is recurrent neural network. So these two are two different, slightly different technologies that are used to arrive or get this image analysis as well as the text analysis. Okay. And in that again, various types of ANN there is artificial neural network technologies are available. I think I will just skip this for want of time. Okay. So, which I already mentioned, these are all some of the things that go into the development of this generative AI, neural networks. Remember, I just want to leave you with this, that behind this AI is the deep learning, machine learning. Machine learning now incorporates deep learning. Deep learning is essentially based on artificial neural network, which in itself has many layers. What is now changing is the number of layers that are used in getting the output is changing, okay, is enormously increasing. I would use the word increasing. So that is what is giving the power. And one of those technologies, specific technologies behind ChatGPT, is the large language models. Why? Because there is so much of text corpora available, one could use that and they could develop the LLMs, that is large language models. Again, there is a bit of history about LLM, which I'm not going to read through. I would like you to go through them if you have the interest in understanding a little bit more about large language models. Let me just give you one example so that you get a sense of what are these large language models. Basically, it's called large language models because it uses what is known as the natural language processing approach. What is natural language? Remember, I said earlier it was structured data, which means like a table. Data would be in the form of a table. Now, today, there is so much of data because you have to convert that natural language data into tables, it will take time. Earlier, it was done by human beings. Now, what they do is they take this data as is available in the natural language and feature extraction is done. And then, you have various tools used in order to actually classify them and use them. And there is a whole lot of technologies or fields behind them. One of them is computational linguistics. So computational linguistics has helped the development of natural language approach. So that has started some 25 years back. Natural language processing, computer vision, robotics, all of this, particularly NLP, natural language processing, computer vision, and robotics. These are the three major fields which has given way or led the path to the AI revolution that we are seeing today. So the game changer has been the ChatGPT, which I already mentioned. So today, actually, the free version is still the ChatGPT or GPT 3.5, but a paid version is also available, which is more powerful, more current than the free version, naturally. So that is the GPT 4. Okay, GPT 4 is a paid version, which has more capabilities than the ChatGPT 3.1. I'll just give you just to give a flavor of understanding what is large language models and then how ChatGPT uses that. See, again, it is not new. It has been there for quite some time. I'm sure all of you are using Google. When you use Google, for example, I've taken this example. Who is, of course, there is a spelling mistake there. Okay, I have said who is the prime minister. I've just typed at that. As you can see, it comes prime minister. It has made the correction itself. You can see that. Who is the prime minister? Who is the prime minister of Canada? Who is the prime minister of Australia? Prime minister of Israel, etc., etc. Okay. Do you understand that? That means it is prompting me. I don't have to type in the next word. It is predicting. That is known as query auto completion. That was the first flavor of, you can say, ChatGPT. That is query auto completion feature of many of this search engine. That is also based on the language models. Okay, that is based on the NLP approach. See, you can see here. Let me also highlight one thing. For example, you see here when I say first prime minister, it is showing me prime minister of Canada, Australia, etc. You know why? Because today I'm sitting in the US. So my computer, the Google search engine recognizes that I am in US, and it also recognizes prime minister is not in the US, right? There is a president in there. So it gives me the nearest one, that is prime minister of Canada. Understood? If you are doing that in India, what would come up is actually prime minister of India first. Okay. So that's kind of intelligence, right? And this intelligence comes from various aspects of technology. One, through our network, the search engine knows where you are sitting, physically sitting. Okay. Based on that, it makes the assumption when I query that I am more interested in understanding or querying about Prime Minister of Canada, number one. Which may be right, which may be wrong. In my case, I am an Indian, so I'm more interested in India rather than Canada, right? Whether I'm sitting in the US or whether I'm sitting in India. So, but try to understand the intelligence, how it is building, okay? Then it is doing all of these, developed countries, Canada, Australia, Israel, France, Japan, UK, and then comes to other countries, right? So query auto completion is one example of how large language models, that is LLMs, work. I'm just giving you a flavor of how it works through this example, okay? So what they are doing is, again, I will skim through this. What this large language model, it models the language. And basically, what it tries to do is predict the next word. How does it predict the next word? As I said, prediction is based on the past. Okay, so it does information extraction. All of this it does. Basically, part of speech tagging, automatic text generation, or all of that is done in order to get to the prediction of the. Okay, I'll skim through this. And just to give you a sense of the technology and its development, let me just give first version of GPT was released in the year 2018, not so long ago, right? Just about 6 years back, with how many parameters? 117 parameters. You can see the next stage, GPT-2. It was released the very next year, and it had, just imagine, 1.5 billion parameters. GPT-3, it had 175 billion. So it's like growing 100 times, right? Then GPT-4 is said to be based on 220 billion parameters each. Okay, so that you can imagine is the power of technology today. It's increasing. Okay, so with generative AI, you can use it for images, you can use it for text, you can use it for audio. It's not limited to text, even though my examples have been primarily text so far. I'll just give you some few examples I mentioned about generating images, just to give you a sense of how it works if you have not used it. Okay, DAL-A is one of the examples using the same technology of large language model type technology. So DAL-E2, it generates realistic, accurate images with 4 times greater resolution. That's the power now. Okay, I'll just give you one example. So you just give a prompt. David Michelangelo as DJ. See, everybody knows Michelangelo, right? Michelangelo's picture is like this. You are asking a question, or rather asking the DALI to generate Michelangelo as a DJ. So it gives the look of a DJ to Michelangelo and gives you a picture. So you can see you can create a picture, that is the generative AI or DALI is now here, an abstract painting of artificial intelligence. So for example, let us say I want a picture, but not a real picture, but an abstract painting of AI. And I ask this question, it is giving me. See, this is an abstract oil painting of a river. Okay, so abstract oil paintings are a particular genre. Okay, this genre, like Van Gogh, a well-known famous painter, Van Gogh. So it is emulating Van Gogh's style. That's what I meant by you can get the style you want. A Van Gogh style painting of an American football player. See, here you get. So these are examples of how you can use ChatGPT to get the responses that you want. So I have also asked now my question, how it can help us in, for example, research. So it gives me all the answers. Now, just for a minute, pause and think. Can it help us actually in doing research? Not exactly. It can only give me, for example, examples of how it is used in drug discovery. But drug discovery itself, we use the power of AI to do better, as I said earlier, faster. The drug discovery today can be faster because you don't have to sit and analyze humongous amount of data. Okay. So as I said, I've given you so many examples of how you can use or how it has changed. This is one example of how over the years it has changed. Okay. I am right now working on a project called Digital Twin. Okay. So I wanted to see when I start a particular project or a new program, I try to, as I said before, we try to search the literature. We read a book on that, etc. Right? Now I said, let me dig deeper. So till now, what I used to do? What I used to do is, of course, 40 years back, we used to go to a library and then, open the books, open articles, etc. Today, we first do the Googling. So we used to Google, and now I may also ask ChatGPT about, tell me about what is digital twin. So when I Google it, urban infrastructure digital twin, for example, this is my project, it gives me these answers in the form of links to websites, etc. Right? Then I click on that one link, then I get this mobile mapping, machine learning, and digital twin for road infrastructure monitoring. So I've got some idea about what it is. I get references to. That's how I build my knowledge base, right? Now, second approach is ChatGPT. So it gives me an answer. Now tell me for a minute, okay, pause over it, and you think what is the one that I should be using? This is another example to write a research proposal. Okay. Now, if you ask me, I use all of them. Because Google has certain advantages, because it tells me what other sources are available, what articles are available. I can go deeper and then do it. And then I have the one important advantage is I have the reference. I know who has said this. Whereas as of now, in ChatGPT, you don't know. It just gives you the answers. It's like a black box. So you can use ChatGPT for language translation. You don't have to worry about automated summarization, which you can use it easily. As I mentioned earlier, you can give 5 pages or 50 pages and say, please summarize it to 5 sentences or 1 page, etc. You can use it for question answering. These are the various ways ChatGPT can be used. That's why, as I said in the very beginning, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about ChatGPT and taking that example, and then come to, in general, how we can use AI for deploy. I mean, we can deploy AI for higher education. So, various ways we can use AI. One important, I would think, important area in which AI can be used in higher education is, see, today education is not personalized. There are students sitting in a class, there may be 30 students, 60 students, whatever number of students are there. You are teaching all of them in the same manner. All of them, as if all of them have the same requirements, all of them have the same abilities, same knowledge base, etc. Whereas AI can be used to personalize this. That is, it can adapt. You can get the AI to say, okay, the same lecture, you can, for example, somebody has problems in language. You can use it to translate it. Today, for example, if you watch videos automatically generate the subtitles, right? Once upon a time, the subtitles had to be generated manually. So that is an aid for someone who finds it difficult to follow what the speaker is saying. So, in addition to looking at the speaker, listening to the speaker, let's say, for example, auto generated subtitles, so that it keeps generating the text. So, you don't have to listen to the teacher or the person who is speaking so very attentively, or sometimes it may be an accent problem, it may be whatever problem you have. So you can personalize. That is the simplest level of personalization. There are other ways to personalize it. For example, any technology for that matter. Today, the space is not a barrier. I'm sitting right now here in the US recording this lecture and then sending it over for the conference on 17th, right? Or I could come online live and then give this talk. Or I could also send this in different formats. For example, you can use ChatGPT to summarize this talk. Okay? Or you can use ChatGPT to, for example, the text that is generated can be made into simple text. So all of this is possible. That's what we mean by personalized learning. Intelligent tutoring system. Okay. Again, they give feedback, guidance to students, where to go, how to do it, etc. They are using natural language processing and then helping learning algorithm. There is, you don't have to tell what it's to be. It understand. The AI can understand whether the student is following the thread or following the speed of the teacher. Sorry. And then it can adapt. Then another area where AI can be used in higher education is, well, I mean, this is one of the important features of AI or data science. Predictive analytics. Okay. What is predictive analytics? Is based on past data. Okay. See, for example, Let's take one standard problem that we face: attendance. Usually, what happens? Attendance is calculated or computed only towards the end of the semester. So, before the exams, right? By then, you don't have, for example, opportunities to improve. Whereas with AI, that is, if it is used in college administration, it can show percentages, how many more lectures you need to attend in order to maintain the minimum, all of that. And I mean, that's in higher education, I'm just giving, because this is being used in health very well, health area. You don't have to reach a particular level of, for example, diabetes. You don't have to cross 120 in order to be declared as diabetic. There is a pre-diabetic, etc. Right? So it can continuously monitor. So that is an area what is called as the predictive analytics. Then, of course, another area is automated grading. You know, teachers, if you ask me, one of the toughest job as a teacher is grading. How do you assess the student? You have to read through all their both sense and nonsense written by the student and try to make sense out of the nonsense. Sometimes, because you don't want to just say wrong. You just want to say whether maybe there is something right in it, right? I'm sure students will understand and teachers will also. So we spend a lot of time, agonizing time, I would say, in grading students, assignments, etc. Today, you have AI, you just feed it and then say, give the grading. It's possible to do it. What do you think? You can, of course, you will have to, do some algorithmic changes to get the kind of grading that you want. Should it be A or B, or should it be 85%, 35%, whatever, right? So all that can be used. So automated grading is one area which can be used. And we have seen chatbots, nowadays, I'm sure all of you have used in various, whether it's the banks or whether it's other, any other online stuff that is available. You have virtual assistants, which will help you up to a point, right? You don't have to deploy people. So they are virtual assistants. So that can be used in higher education too. You don't need to have human beings, teachers to intervene, or even administrative assistants to intervene. You can have chatbots to intervene and help students. Then the students will also feel comfortable because they don't feel like bothering the teachers or the human assistants there. Rather, it's easier because anyway, chatbots don't get annoyed, they don't get tired, so they will answer you all your questions, right? Long back, some 30 years back, I started working in the area of automated learning systems. Okay, one of the main advantages is they don't get tired. Okay, so students can keep on asking questions, keep on actually learning the same thing over and over again. See, as it is, you see, we human beings, by the time I completed this talk, my throat starts itching. So I have to drink water. I started coughing, right? With AI or any technology for that matter, you don't have that problem. And if somebody asks me a question when I'm little tired, well, naturally human beings get irritated. So with that, it doesn't happen with the AI or any technology. The most important contribution of AI in the field of higher education is in research, in data analysis. Okay, much of the research, any area you take today, it's been accelerated. Research acceleration is at such a tremendous pace because analysis of data is always the most time consuming and difficult phase of research. Today, data gathering as well as analysis is faster because of the use of AI. Then similarly, higher education you can use for curriculum planning and optimization. See, today you can, for example, there was a time when when I wanted to look at the curriculum of A university, B university, etc. Some 40 years back, you have to write to them and get it. Today, you just do a search. You will get the curriculum of 10 or 100 universities if you want to. But today, you not only have the curriculum of 100 universities, you can feed that to AI system and they will get you different options, combinations, you know what I mean? So you can do that kind of a curriculum analysis, etc., using these kinds of tools, okay? Then student recruitment and admissions. Okay, there are in this area also you can use AI to facilitate recruiting students and admissions by looking at like admission processes, right? I mean, there was a time, even today we spend, I guess, in the university. I started my teaching career, as I mentioned earlier, about 45 years back in the year 1776, 47 years back actually, or 48 years back. Okay, so then we used to get 600 applications, and some 5 or 6 of us used to sit and go through these records, etc., in order to create that student list. Today you have computers, you have AI systems which can quickly analyze the student records, various activities, and come up with various metrics. You feed them the metrics, it will come up with that and give them a grade. So these are the pluses of AI in higher education. Let us take what are the threats. Before I conclude, let me say what are the threats of AI. One important threat that everyone is concerned about is job displacement. Everyone is concerned about, because already we are seeing the effect of that. You don't need so many people because computers or AI systems can do, right? Especially certain kinds of jobs, okay? You don't need them. You don't need assistants, okay? In fact, some 30, 40 years back, people, there used to be, I don't know whether you are, I mean, youngsters may not know, there used to be what is called as a secretary. I mean, even today you have, depending on how, but today you don't need them because much of the things we ourselves do. We don't have to get someone to do our job, right? Because I mean, anything, I can tell you now, you don't even have to key in. If you don't want to, you can just give a voice thing. From voice to text, it can do automatic, text to voice conversion. All of that can be done. You can do the correction. As I said, no, I showed you one example. I mean, intentionally I made a mistake in spelling of is, well, it automatically corrected. Of course, again, I would say you still need, as of now, you still need to a certain extent human intervention, right? Why do you need human intervention? Because you need to understand that there is a mistake, and then it could also, all of us who have used the auto spelling correction know sometimes how wrong it goes, right? So there is this worry of reducing the human load. Remember, well, it could reduce, but it will also open up new areas. Old areas of work will go, but new areas will come. Even though it's not AI particularly, but let me give you an example. These days, I see even schools and colleges asking for social media coordinators as a job, hiring for hiring purposes. 10 years back, it was not there. Why? Because everybody wants to actually promote their activities, their school, their colleges, etc., through social media. So you need a person who handles your social media account. I mean, whether you are I mean, like a minister, or do you think Modi handles his own Twitter or other accounts? No, there is an army of people who will be handling that. Where whoever it is, Siddaramaiah doesn't use, I mean, doesn't keep tweeting. It's somebody else who is tweeting as per his instructions, right? So like that, new 15 years back, I don't think anybody, whether they are the prime minister or the teacher or a school principal, nobody used the social media coordinators. Today you are having. So jobs are displaced, may not exactly be lost in one sense. Okay. That's one thing that I wanted to. Anyway, still it remains a threat. Then there is the privacy and data. That's another serious threat. You might be reading about, data security breach, etc. People, today actually privacy is almost completely lost. As I said, you can't hide things today because somewhere you are leaving the digital footprint. So you can, I mean, through automation, that is one thing, whether it's the Aadhaar card or whatever, various ways, there are pluses and there is a minus. Minus is everybody wants your identity, even to hire a domestic maid. I will say, first, let me see your Aadhaar card and know what is that. Otherwise, I mean, there's one security, right? So that's both a security as well as a privacy issue, right? So all of that, somebody cannot hide their age because once I see the Aadhaar card, I know how old they are, right? Unless it's a fake Aadhaar card again. Of course, that's a different problem. Anyway, so that's one other problem. Then the most other, threat that people talk about or worried about is the bias and discrimination. Bias could be in terms of, you have all this data, you already have some biases. Everyone has some bias. It may be a bias about gender, it may be bias about race, it may be bias about caste, region, whatever, right? So whether you are from this state or that state, whether you belong to this community or that community, whether you are Hindu, Muslim, Christian, whatever, etc., etc., right? So there is discrimination and bias, and data algorithms can easily get the data, and without even thinking about it, it will give you bias. So that has happened before, whether it is in the admissions, school admissions, financial aid allocation, etc. People say that there is already, if not an explicit, but an implicit bias. The other one is lack of transparency, because AI systems are like black boxes. There are algorithms behind them working and giving you the models and outputs, but we don't know. It's not transparent how it has come to that conclusion or that output. So that is why there is lack of transparency. And of course, the other major threat is digital divide. I always say any technology, it's very powerful, provided you are smart enough to use the technology, you have access to the technology, right? So just because there is Google, unless you know what to search for, how to search for, that itself is another literacy, right? You should know how to make use of the Google, you should know how to make use of ChatGPT. Remember, as I said, ChatGPT also gives you better answers provided you give better prompts, you ask better questions. So that will create a further divide. Okay, to some extent it's still there, even though I would personally think that digital divide is also now actually being bridged through technology. Then, of course, ethical concerns. People can be misusing. We know that people always misuse. I mean, we have seen how fake videos are created, mis meaning they take this part of one video and that part of one video and start misinformation. Every other day, part of different WhatsApp groups, somebody shares especially during elections, right? Somebody shares something. Then I said, okay, I'll just give you one recent example. Somebody had shared this video wherein Rahul Gandhi is saying, and then say, Rahul Gandhi doesn't even know who is the president of Congress and who is the chief minister of Karnataka in one election speech. Then I looked at the video, I said, how could he not know this? Then I see the full video. The full video says, he is saying, for example, Mallikarjuna Kharge, our president, Siddaramaiah ji, Chief Minister of Karnataka, and then D.K. Shivkumar. This is the sequence in which he says. But people who are sharing that, who want to showcase Rahul Gandhi as, down, what they've taken the first part of, so they have removed the name Kharge. So it starts with, the sentence starts with, for example, our Congress party president, Siddaramaiah, Chief Minister D.K. Shiv. Without doing anything, just removing one part, you can actually change the tone of that or the meaning of it by changing the sequence. So that's why, unless there is some ethical things that are in, that's why they say, election time, whether in the US or in India, misinformation and disinformation is the major, major concern. Why? Because it's so easy to change things. Because nobody has time to, think about it. Oh, you see that video, it starts like this. Congress President Siddaramaiah. No, it is actually Kharge, Congress President, Siddaramaiah, Karnataka Chief Minister, D.K. Shivkumar. The sequence, just remove one part of it, then the whole thing is, basically misinformation or disinformation. So ethical concerns are very important for us to worry about, because you can change the message. That's the worry, right? Message can be easily changed by pruning something here and there. So that's one other major, whether it's the politics, whether it is science, whether it is education, in any area, or so in general society, we have to worry about the ethical concerns. Then the other major worry is dependence on technology. Everybody is worried that we don't want to be dependent on, that is over reliance on technology. What happens because of all these gadgets? There was a time, just to give another example, you might have heard of this, many of your, elders say. There was a time I could remember at least some, if not more, some 20 people's phone number in my head. Okay, today, sometimes I don't even remember my husband's phone number. Why? Because everything is there on your mobile. You don't have to think about it. So you just go like this, right? So that is the over reliance on technology is affecting our other abilities. Memory, for example. How many people can remember more than, say, 5 or 10 phone numbers? So that is the worry or rather concern about the dependence on technology. So why sometimes, before I end my talk, I just give you, I have said so much about ChatGPT. Why it gets sometimes wrong is because even though it takes all the information, just I gave you the example of politics about Rahul Gandhi's message being, you chop this, mix it up in a different way and then throw it, it gives a different meaning, right? So that is what, for example, windsurf, I don't know how many of you have heard of windsurf. Windsurf is the developer, in fact, May is the month, 50 years back, the first article describing TCP/IP protocol, which is behind the internet technology, was published by Windsurf and Bob Kahn, two authors. Okay, Windsurf, who that's why they are called as the fathers of internet. And I am fortunate to know Windsurf, and I have interviewed him recently. And when in my interview, I asked Windsurf, "What do you think about ChatGPT?" So his answer I'm sharing with you. He said it is like Windsurf. In an interview, he said it is like, because the way it does this, it's like a salad shooter. It chops the vegetables, mixes it up, and it shoots it in different directions. Sometimes it gets it right, sometimes it gets it wrong. And that is why technology gets sometimes wrong, right? ChatGPT is one example, but all technologies can get sometimes wrong. So basically, these are some of the issues. Now, as far as ChatGPT is concerned, one other issue, remember I said generative AI is based on past data. And ChatGPT or OpenAI gets its data from books and articles, etc. Now, copyright violations lawsuits are being made against OpenAI because it is violating the copyright law. So with this, I would like to end my talk about the power and the pitfalls of AI in general, particularly ChatGPT, and in particular in the context of higher education. So, like any other technology, AI is also a very, very powerful tool. It's a not only powerful tool, but it is becoming more and more powerful every minute or every day. That's where the power, also the danger is. It's becoming powerful and powerful, more and more powerful by day. And in a way, unless it's governed properly, it's also going to pose the threats. That is why the area, what is known as responsible AI, has evolved. So everybody, governments, industry, everybody is saying we need to have what is known as guardrails in order to steer the development of AI in a particular direction so that we don't get it wrong. Okay, if you get it right, then probably, as Nick Bostrom says in his book, Deep Utopia, we will be living in an utopian world where we are all informed, we all have all the knowledge that we want, we don't have to work, we have all the necessary, food and other requirements met, but we can use our time and intelligence in other more creative. If you are interested in music, maybe in music. If you are interested in writing books, maybe writing books with the help of ChatGPT, maybe. But you can write more books, right? Instead of writing one book every 5 years, you can probably write a book every year. So you can use that and make it a better world. That's why it is deep utopia. So let us hope that, better, I would say, restraint and better thinking prevails. And then we are able to reach the utopia of everyone living happily ever after without the dangers or threat of the AI in any area, especially in higher education. Thank you. So with this, I would like to stop my talk here, and hopefully you have some knowledge of AI and then how it can impact us both in good ways as well as in not so good ways. Thank you so much.